All right, so let's get into Ministry of Rock. I'm going to go to the lower left-hand side of my browser and choose Ministry of Rock from my list here. Then I've got my basses, and I'm going to choose Fender 5-string, and I get a choice between Elements and Master. Now, Elements are going to be velocity crossfaded, so if I go to Elements and double-click, when it loads and I look at my key bed, I do not see any key switching in the lower half of the keyboard. When I play, the velocity is definitely affecting how it's being played. Once again, on my mod wheel, I'm getting a little bit of filter alteration. So when I go down to Master, we're going to get the key switching. When you have key switching in an instrument, it's important to go to the player and check out the different articulations. Now, these articulations say sustained on C0, fingered on C-sharp 0, legato on D0, etc., etc. Some of these libraries have been updated since they came out, so it's important to look at your articulation list and see what's being loaded, because sometimes in the manual you'll note that these articulations aren't up to date. So we see that C-sharp 0 is fingered. Even though the rest of the articulations are there, they've been moved up a little bit, and that's probably because the library's been updated. These libraries are very dynamically updated over time because EastWest finds improvements or they want to add something to a specific instrument that they worked on. It shows a level of care that I think is really kind of cool. So here we have our Fender bass. And it's got a nice extended range. So you can go down to that B. So you can do a drop D tuning if you want to, and you can have the bass play along to it, and it sounds really good. When I go through my articulations, I'm going to have to drop my keyboard an octave because I'm using a 61 key keyboard. You have these nice effects too with slides. Now, like we saw in the notes, the instruments have been recorded on the left and right channel. So if I go up to where it says channel stores at the top, we have stereo, mono, which means it's going to mix both of those stereo channels to a mono channel, so it's going to be up the center. Mono from the left channel, so we're using the left channel as source, or the right channel as source. And then we have swap left and right channel, which is pretty cool as well. So let's choose mono from the left and hear how that sounds. Here's mono from the right. And here's both of them mixed together up mono. It's pretty monstrous. Pretty cool stuff. Now, as far as the Fender itself, I mean, there's a 5-string Fender bass. It's been unaltered, so it sounds really good. All the tone that you're hearing is just coming from the instrument and the amp itself. There's not a whole lot of extra effects. They do have reverb on here if you want to use it. You can use a little bit of delay, or you can do something called automatic double tracking, which we've talked about before, where it's essentially creating a shift in time and in tuning to give you the impression that this has been double tracked. Now, in stereo, we actually have the same performance being sent through both speakers, but it's at exactly the same time. If I turn my ADT on, it ends up getting us a really nice chorusing effect that we can really tweak to our heart's content. On top of that, we also have the stereo doubling. So there's a lot of really cool spatial effects that we can work on if we want to. So that's basically the tone of the Fender bass. So let's quickly go through some of the other basses just to see what they sound like.